Welcome to Daylight. Today is May 1st, 2026, and we are reopening the case file on one of the most enigmatic figures of late 20th century geopolitics, Boris Abramovich Berezovsky, a man whose influence stretched far beyond the realms of business and into the very heart of Russian political intrigue. Berezovsky's life represents a critical nexus of power, wealth, and ultimately tragedy. Born in 1945 in Russia, he rose to prominence in the chaotic aftermath of the Soviet Union's collapse, transforming from a scientist and engineer into an oligarch who wielded considerable influence under Boris Yeltsin's presidency. Berezovsky's fortunes were intertwined with the fabric of Russian politics, as he adeptly navigated the treacherous waters of a nascent democracy, funding political campaigns and securing positions of immense power for himself and his allies. However, Berezovsky's ascent was matched only by his dramatic fall from grace. After falling out of favor with the Kremlin, he fled to the United Kingdom, where he became a prominent critic of Vladimir Putin and an elusive enigma in the world of exile politics. His suspicious death in 2013, ruled a suicide by authorities, has long sparked theories of foul play, raising pressing questions about the lengths to which state actors might go to silence dissent. As we delve deeper into the events surrounding Berezovsky's life and suspicious demise, we will explore the assertion put forth by our lead investigator that Boris Berezovsky was killed. In an era defined by shifting alliances and covert operations, understanding Berezovsky's story offers crucial insights into the intersection of business, politics, and the potentially deadly consequences of challenging authoritarian regimes. As tensions escalate globally, the implications of Berezovsky's legacy echo in today's geopolitical landscape, demanding our attention and careful examination. Boris Berezovsky's death on March 23, 2013, at his home in Sunninghill, Berkshire, has been hailed by many as an enigmatic conclusion to the life of an influential and controversial figure. Although the initial post-mortem examination indicated that his death was consistent with hanging, the aftermath revealed a series of inconsistencies that prompted doubts about the official conclusion of suicide. Lead investigator statements have emerged indicating a belief that, "I think Boris Berezovsky was killed," a theory worth meticulous examination given the intertwined political and personal machinations prevalent in Berezovsky's life. Upon discovery, Berezovsky's body was found with a ligature around his neck in a locked bathroom by a bodyguard, drawing immediate attention to the unusual circumstances surrounding his passing. The coroner recorded an open verdict during the 2014 inquest, signifying there were significant questions left unanswered regarding the nature of Berezovsky's death. There were no signs of a violent struggle, but key witnesses, including pathologist Bernd Brinkmann, argued that the ligature mark was circular, diverging from the typical V-shaped mark associated with hangings. Brinkmann's insights, especially the purple coloration of Berezovsky's face instead of the expected pallid appearance of a hanging victim, cast further doubt on the suicide narrative. In the context of Berezovsky's adversarial relationship with the Kremlin, his departure from the country in the early 2000s is essential for understanding the risks he faced. Berezovsky fled to the UK in 2000 after falling out of favor with Vladimir Putin. Initially a crucial player in the establishment of Putin's political career, his critiques of the government afterward painted him as a target of state retribution. The confirmed statements by former high-ranking FSB officers, which included claims of plots to assassinate Berezovsky, bolster the theory that he could have been silenced. Two notable alleged plots to assassinate him were reported, one in 2003 and another in 2007. The first instance, uncovered by the defector Alexander Litvinenko, purported a binary weapon assassination attempt that failed to yield results. When details emerged in 2007 regarding another plot by an unidentified hitman, brief media coverage created a fleeting moment of intrigue pointing toward the dangers Berezovsky faced even in exile. After the second report, he admitted to fleeing on the advice of Scotland Yard. It was a clear signal of the sustained threats against him. Berezovsky's health and mental state leading up to his death cannot be overlooked in an examination of possible suicide. Reports describe him suffering from depression exacerbated by a series of failed legal battles, including a disastrous loss to Roman Abramovich concerning previous assets that had once yielded him significant wealth. The culmination of legal losses reportedly led him to sell personal possessions merely to address mounting debts. A mere day before his death, he confided to a reporter that he had nothing left to live for, which many took as a signal of his fragile mental state. However, the potential for foul play begins to surface when considering not just the claims of an orchestrated exit from the political scene, but also the context of international relations. Berezovsky's high-profile efforts against Putin, including overt gestures to orchestrate a revolution, painted him as a politically motivated individual with enemies spanning beyond mere business rivalries. His assertion that a foreign intervention was the only way to influence Russia's direction painted the Kremlin's leadership not just as opponents but as existential threats. The list of suspicious circumstances and unexplained events surrounding his death raises significant questions. Specialized cleanup crews enlisted by authorities did an extensive sweep of his residence, ostensibly as a precaution. Subsequent analysis revealed no radiation or chemical threats, further clouding the motivations behind this decision. It begs the question, was enough precaution taken, or was the absence of evidence merely preemptive sealing over various unreported findings? A fingerprint found near Berezovsky's body, which didn't belong to him, only deepens the intrigue surrounding these circumstances. Along with other notable injuries that might align with foul play, such as the recently discovered wound on the back of his head, the evidence suggests elements of a struggle preceding his death, contradicting the suicide narrative. Notably, the Kremlin has remained secretive regarding Berezovsky's death while officials have denied involvement in any capacity, asserting that his death was simply the result of the individual's complex personal issues. However, this stance has not eliminated speculation existing primarily due to the state's noted history of silencing opposition, especially amidst a totalitarian atmosphere under Putin's regime. Further scrutiny of the motivations and implications surrounding Berezovsky's death must include criticism aimed at the methodologies behind public delivering narratives of the oligarch world in Russia and abroad. The powerful overlay of media portrayals between Berezovsky and other oligarchs shows a pattern of framing that tends to unify when addressing the threats posed to the structure of power in Russia. The intertwined relationships and transactions behind closed doors further suggest that Berezovsky's life and death were less about individual choices than about the careful considerations of those who navigate precarious international landscapes where the stakes are life and death. In final reflection, while there is a palpable semblance of suicide rooted in the findings and expressed intent in Berezovsky's own dialogue, overwhelming evidence of circumstantial abnormalities leads to a conundrum. The conjecture raised by our lead investigator merits exploration through the lens of Berezovsky's intersecting dramas within the realms of power and finance. It is essential to confront the potential for even deeper political calculations leading to a strategic killing, a narrative shrouded in speculation illuminated by Berezovsky's ongoing dissensions against an increasingly repressive regime. Anchor sign-off. As we conclude this meticulously crafted retrospective on the life of Boris Abramovich Berezovsky, one must reflect not only on the path he navigated through the tumultuous landscapes of business and politics, but also on the implications of those actions for contemporary geopolitics. Today, Berezovsky remains a figure shrouded in both admiration and animosity, emblematic of a post-Soviet Russia that oscillates between oligarchic wealth and political repression. His life, punctuated by ambition, betrayal, and ultimately tragedy, raises critical questions about power dynamics that transcend borders. We have examined a multitude of factors, from his ascent as a prominent businessman to his contentious relationship with the Kremlin and his eventual exile, only to meet an untimely end under suspicious circumstances. This narrative casts a shadow on the very nature of power and survival in a world where allegiances shift and threats linger in the shadows. The hypothesis posited by our lead investigator, that Boris Berezovsky may have been murdered, deserves rigorous examination. We must scrutinize the details, the circumstances surrounding his death, the environment of fear and mistrust in which he operated, and the geopolitical ramifications that ensued. Was this a mere exit from a turbulent life, or a calculated silencing of a voice that challenged authority? In an era where the remnants of Berezovsky's influence continue to resonate, especially amid the complex political situation under President Donald Trump, we find ourselves at a crossroads. The lessons of Berezovsky's life beckon us to consider not just the fate of individuals, but the broader implications for societies prone to the allure of power and the specter of retribution. As we move forward, let us carry this inquiry into our analyses of today's global affairs. History has a way of repeating itself, often revealing the hidden threads that bind leaders, adversaries, and legacies together. Until next time, stay vigilant and inquisitive. History, after all, is always in the making. Good night.